Hi, this is my Com Arts 103 informative speech, and here are my audience members. And Ruth. I was born in October of 1992 on October 31st, Halloween, and I researched some pop culture facts, some history, the cost of living, and some sports. But I just wanted to take some time to talk about what a beautiful day it is, how great it is that there's no snow, that spring is finally here, and that summer must be well on its way. Not used in that context was the word of the year in 1992. I thought this was really funny, and the word not was used this way just to poke fun, be a little sarcastic, not to do any real harm to anyone. So starting with pop culture, Cartoon Network premiered in October of 1992, and this changed the lives of kids everywhere. They no longer had to wait for Saturday morning to watch their cartoons. Instead, they could watch them all day, every day, any day of the week with no interruptions. Home Alone 2 also premiered. Though this movie was said to say that it never lived up to the original Home Alone, it had an interesting cameo by our current president, President Trump, in the Royal Plaza Hotel lobby. Whitney Houston also had the Song of the Year with I Will Always Love You, one of my favorites. And alternative music started to become a popular genre led by the band Nirvana. Nirvana released their second album in 1992 with the number one song being Smells Like Teen Spirit. When Smells Like Teen Spirit became a chart-topping hit, many people got into the alternative music genre, and it took off from there. Reservoir Dogs was also the number one movie in 1992, written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. This movie surrounds around the idea of the perfect diamond heist, led by a group, and things start to go south when one of the group's members turns out to be a police informant. The Real World also premiered on MTV in 1992, and it lasted for about 22 seasons on and off throughout the years. Bulgaria recognized Macedonia as its own country for the first time. Macedonia was formerly part of Yugoslav, Siberia, and Bulgaria, and it was a huge day when Macedonia finally gained their independence. When one of the countries that formerly owned Macedonia recognized it, it gave the rest of the world confidence that this country was indeed its own entity. Jeffrey Dahmer pleads guilty to killing 17 boys and men. He pled guilty with reason of insanity, but was found sane and sentenced to prison instead of a mental health facility. Moldova joined the United Nations after leaving the Soviet Union, and the LA riots broke out after Rodney King was beaten by two police officers, and the police officers were acquitted of their crimes. Bill Clinton was also elected as president on November 3rd, 1992. Finally, the Mall of America opened, and it was located at an old stadium site for the Minnesota Twins and Vikings. This was the largest U.S. attraction and where the most U.S. citizens traveled to every year to visit. It sat on 78 acres of land and only expanded as time went on. Revolving around the cost of living, gas was $1.05 a gallon. The average income was $30,030, and minimum wage was $4.25. Our world population was 5,391,000,000, and the average home cost $135,000. The next topic that I found the most interesting, just because I'm a huge sports person, revolved around the different athletes and the scores of 1992. Tiger Woods was the youngest PGA player at 16. He joined the PGA in 1992, and he would go on to win the second most PGA wins with 79. Wisconsin would beat Michigan in the Rose Bowl, and Duke would also beat Michigan in the NCAA championship, making it a pretty hard year for the University of Michigan. Magic Johnson's number was retired by the Los Angeles Lakers, and his number was 32. This was the first time the LA Lakers had ever retired a jersey, and this was probably my favorite fact, just because he is one of my favorite athletes. The Olympic Winter Games were held in France, and this was the first time that this was the last time that games were held together. Going forward, summer games would be held in the summer, and winter games would be held in the winter, and they would be held separately. Up until then, running, skiing, swimming, and ice skating were all held at the same Olympics, making it a huge event. And finally, Barry Bonds would sign the highest yearly contract at $43 million for any baseball player ever recorded. This was a huge deal and a lot of money for one baseball player playing one season. I loved a lot of the facts that I found revolving around sports, the cost of living, pop culture, and history. I loved them because some of them were still my favorite artists, like Whitney Houston, my favorite athletes, like Magic Johnson, and just a lot of the sports. I just loved to see who was doing well and what they're doing these days. But the most important fact and most important date in 1992 was my birth on October 31st. I hope you enjoyed this speech. Thanks.